Welcome back to the PR show, a strong opinion in a strong voice. I have here with me my wonderful friend Christina, all the way from
Oregon. Oregon.
Oregon. There you go. So please introduce yourself and let the audience know what to know about yourself, and just take your story.
Okay, like I said, thank you again so much for this opportunity to minister. When I first had all this thing that I'm going to share with you happen, I ministered all the time, and then I haven't had a chance to say it recently. So my name's Christina. I'm from Oregon, and I started out as a very strong, athletic, very competent young girl. And then I got an injury, a severe injury that changed my life. It changed everything.
Oh, wow.
And so
When
I'm going to
was
just.
that? Were you like a little girl at the time, or were you an adult?
I was 24 actually.
Okay.
So kind of at the prime of my life, really. I was a wildland firefighter, and I was so strong and healthy that I was arrogant. And I actually kind of enjoyed pushing men and kind of breaking them emotionally because I could outdo them physically. So when I had this injury, it was a back injury. I learned what it was like to be disabled. It was very bad.
Did you have an injury, like you fell off or something, like sports or something?
Yeah, it was actually kind of a two-prong injury. I was into martial arts, and I was at a competition. It was actually a competition that if I would have won my match, I could have trained with Chuck Norris personally.
Oh, wow.
Like, for real. It was that big of a deal for me.
Yeah.
I did a spinning jump, reverse crescent, and ended up tweaking my back like really bad. But before that, as a wildland firefighter, I was working like bent over, manual labor, carrying heavy packs, doing a lot of really hard. You're a firefighter. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And
I don't
so
think I've ever known anybody who is a firefighter and woman. So
yeah, well, it
thank you for your service. Absolutely. Yeah.
The men were very mean. Were very mean when I started. And so that tweaked my back, and I was extremely injured. But I just kind of kept pushing it, and it took a long time to get to the point where I could kind of walk again. And so I went and I joined a hotshot crew, the Redmond Hotshots, which I was with the Forest Service, and in the Forest Service, that's like that's a resume builder or killer. You either succeed there or you just vanish out of the crowd because it's for elite firefighters. And this was a big move for me. It was my first permanent job, good money, all this kind of stuff. So I went in already kind of a little bit injured. And one day we were moving out war bags. They're about 60 pounds. And I stepped off the back of the bus, the crew buggy, wrong, and came down, landed my spine on the edge with that 60-pound pack, and it just compressed it ruptured my disc. It ruptured 3 discs. And at first, just trying to be really tough and just eating ibuprofen and Tiger Balm, everything I could to just keep up, but it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And finally, it got to the point where I started going to a physical therapist at night to not let anybody know. And they were trying all these things, and I just couldn't do it. I'm shaking. I'm like almost in tears, and they're just like, you shouldn't be struggling so bad. Let's do an MRI. And then when the MRI came in, they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. How are you walking? And things kept getting worse and worse. And so I'm going to share my screen right now.
Sure.
Cool. So like I said, on this particular one, if you can see the picture, like where it's white, your vertebrae should be white, full of fluid, and pretty spaced out. But as you can see here, they're black and they're smashed. You can see this injury on the inside of the spine. You can see where they bulged, they ruptured right here on these 3. And then you can kind of see
that means there are no fluids.
Yeah, and you can see the deformity on my back. And if you actually put your finger down my spine, you can still feel this. And it was, they told me it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And they said, you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. You're done. You're over. And
but at this point, you were not in wheelchair. You kept on pushing and.
Well, it was yes, I was pushing, but it was getting to the point where I was limping, and it was getting worse and worse. And they said it's going to keep getting worse because you blew your back out. It's done. That realization, once the Forest Service found out, and they realized that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, they put me on light duty. put me in the office, which I learned some really cool skills with that, but it was a total shame for me in my career. And it crushed me. And what it led to was an identity crisis. I mean, I became very depressed. I developed an anxiety disorder because up until that point, I was so powerful, so strong, so young.
Invincible.
I thought I was invincible.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought I was invincible. And again, this happened, as you can see, way back in 97. So I didn't even know the things I know about God and healing that I do now. So back then, I thought God did this to me. He allowed this to happen so I could learn compassion. I could learn humility. I could learn these things. I understand now that things, God turns those things so we can learn those good points, but he didn't create the injury. But at the time, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's a common misconception regarding sickness or any kind of injury, that God must have been involved in that. But of course, that's not the case.
Yeah. And so as bad as this injury was, it was to the point where like, it finally got to the point where like my mom, and at my time, my husband now, but he was my fiance at that time, they had to carry me to the bathroom. My mom had to take care of me. That's how bad it was. I couldn't move anymore. I couldn't twist. Everything started seizing up. The pain was so great. I would be walking. They're like, you should have a cane. You should have a wheelchair. You should have this. And I didn't want that. So I just kept trying to walk.
Yeah.
And I would be in the middle of a restaurant anywhere. And all of a sudden it would shift. It would give out. I would scream and I'd drop to the ground, fall, and just embarrass myself horribly. And, everybody's looking and, I'm like, I'm okay. And I'm like crying, I'm okay, and it was like very horrible. And I got to the point where I didn't want to go out anymore just because I'm just embarrassing myself.
Of course.
And part of my background is as a Native American is I'm one of the female warriors, and we're to protect. And in this place, I realized if I didn't have the love of my mom, and at that time my boyfriend, fiance, I would die. Like I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't hunt, I couldn't fight or defend anybody. And so I really lost who I was. I just totally dropped my basket. So of course started to pray. Okay, God, I need help, and I think I was getting so arrogant. I always knew God, but I think I was getting to the point where like I kind of forgot about God because I could do it myself. And I came to this place like I need so much help.
You want to put back the the other screen so we can see you?
Yeah. I'll put that back. I'm going to share a couple more things.
Sure.
So I got injured and I began ministering again once. It took about 6 years for me to be able to walk again and move. And so I wasn't fast. I couldn't do much. I'm probably like 230 pounds in this shot right here. I blew up to 300 pounds after my initial injury. That's how big I had gotten. But I started ministering again to little kids, showing them like, this is how you can do it. And I especially wanted to help like the little kids that were less advantaged and kind of lived in hostile family life. So started with that, started training, started losing weight, started building some muscle, started running, so everything they said that I couldn't do, I did it. But this time with God. This time I understood.
Were you taking medication? Did you do physiotherapy or something?
I just took like ibuprofen, like painkillers, like for ibuprofen, but not the big stuff because I'm very hypersensitive. I don't need much to help me. So ibuprofen was enough. No, I just did it on my own. A lot of prayer, a lot of patience, a lot of love and support from my family. Now I'm kind of, I'm fighting a little bit, training a little bit, and I go on with, and like I'll watch myself and I'm kind of frustrated because it's like, this is not very good, and it's easy to really beat myself up.
Wow.
And I'm like, you can say I'm exhausted. I'm like so wasted and exhausted. But what I realized is, are you kidding me? They told you you're going to be in a wheelchair, and look what I'm doing. I'm running.
Are these recent ones though?
Say again? Are
these recent ones or the
those last couple of ones within the last couple of years? Yeah.
Okay, so it's quite recent.
Yeah. And so what I've done now is I've taken what I've learned, all that stuff I've learned about identity, especially the one where actually it was David O'Brien who started teaching about like you're born of God. You're not just a Christian. you know. And at the time, Christian was like, what does that even mean? You know, like all these bad things happen. And so I began learning this stuff. And so this is all over the world. This shot's in Rhode Island. This one's in Pennsylvania. This was in
Wow.
Bend, Oregon. This is locally Dallas. This one here, Shelly Vincent, I don't have a picture of her, but I actually made a video of ministering. What I do is I interview fighters and ask them, why do you fight? I find out their background story and then I minister to them. And so I've made one with Shelly Vincent, and then this girl down here, Brittany, she just won a fight. I'm making a second episode with her. I think I'm building a third one with this young man. This one over here, also Pennsylvania. So basically, I took what was once a really bad experience, and it's taken time, but I feel like it's the power of the restart, the power of starting over, the power of discovering who you are in Christ when you're in the middle of that storm. And
How did you come from where you were at the time? How did you come to Jesus? Was it on your own? Did someone help you? Did someone reach out? Or
I always knew about Jesus. My family always talked about him, but we were like what they call Christmas Christians. We go to church on Christmas and Easter, you know. And so I didn't know a lot. I knew enough, but and so I felt like I was probably always saved. At least I said the prayer, right?
yeah.
But after this happened, and I lost my identity, I lost everything. There was nothing else left to do but like start to go into the depths of the spirituality and the soul, because my mind was shot. It was double-minded, and that's where God just started to really speak to me. And I remember one day I was driving home, and my car, the spindle broke, and I pulled off to the side of the road, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, November, raining, dark, and it's extremely painful for me to walk. I got like 2 miles to get home. It's like, I don't even know if I can make that. And I look around, and the only light on was this little church across the street. There was a light on.
Wow.
And this is how I thought. This is where I was at this time. It was
Yeah.
not healthy. I was like, I wonder if I can sucker one of those Christians into let me use their phone. That's what I was thinking. And so I walk across and I look into
Sounds
the
like
little
a setup.
yeah. And I walk in, and this lady, she's got these kids running around like crazy Indians. I'm Native American, I can say that. And she's frazzled, and I'm like, and so I knock on the window, and she doesn't respond. So I start to walk home, but then I hear the window open up, and a little mouse voice, she's like, can I help you? And I look up, and there's her face, and there's 10 little kids' faces sticking out the window, all, you know, lined up staring at me. And I'm like, can I use your phone? And I walk in there, and she's running around, and the first thing I see up there is it was a picture of a bunch of different colored hands, white, black, red, yellow, just multicultural. I'm like, oh wow, this church must not be too racist because they got that poster there. Because that's what I had learned, you know. And this woman is like frazzled, right? But she turns to me all of a sudden, she's like, huh, I wonder. And then she goes back to do whatever, and I'm kind of like,
what did she say? I didn't catch that.
She goes, huh, I wonder. Because I said, I wonder if God's trying to give me a message. Is what I said. That's what she stopped, turns at me, and looks at me like just dead in the eyes and says that. She gives me a Bible. That's where it starts. Like it's like 6 months later, I come back. As time goes on, those kids become my youth group. It's a slow start. It wasn't this one glorious.
Were they actually, that was just a family, or is it like an orphanage?
It was a church. It was just a church.
But she wasn't the mother of all the 10 kids.
Oh, I'm sorry. She was. They were rehearsing for a Christmas play, and it was like the last.
Okay. I thought they were like one big happy family with one mother.
No, it was a bunch of youth kids. And I remember, so like not very long after that, I'm driving the same road, going by the same place, and I had been asking God a question in my head. I never verbalized it. I never said it because I just never did. And on the radio came an announcer, and he said almost word for word answered my prayer about because I had been wondering about my cultural background as a Native American, how we worship God versus Christianity, because I was trying really hard to like cleanse myself of anything that wasn't of God. And some of the people meant well, but they were like, you have to get rid of all those charms and all those things. They weren't charms. They were just beautiful things that my mom had given me at that time. And I was very tormented and very conflicted. But when he answered, all of a sudden, like every single emotion all at once just hit me. I began crying. I began celebrating. I began weeping, like everything I had to pull over off the side of the road because everything was just coming full blown. And I think that was the first time I really connected. And I remember thinking, all those years I've wasted all these years. But then God's like, no, you haven't. We got more. We got more. And then he just starts pouring into me. And the first time I got really super connected, I would say, you know, people say, well, if you're so young and you don't understand that you're saved, it's not really the same as when you understand. And I understood at that moment because I'm fully grown, gone through this whole mess. God's pulled me out, bailed me out. I'm repairing my life. And now spiritually it's happened. And at that point, I knew that everything was worth giving up for God, including martial arts. So when I first started, I gave up martial arts because it was like a fighting and like, why, how is that with God? And I gave that all up. But as time has come, God's brought me back around. It's like the thing that broke you will be the thing that helps others.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind of where that is going.
Wow. I did some martial arts. I did Krav Maga.
Oh, that's a good one.
I know.
That's a neat one.
That's a killer.
Definitely.
I enjoyed it. I think I was the only girl. Maybe there was like one more, but I did ballet before. So it's like the other end of the spectrum. But I see beauty in all. So I really respect those who are, you know, and I'm a race kayaker. So it's like I've been around the map. But yeah, I mean, there is beauty in all. I mean, depending on if it doesn't become your idol, obviously, then it has a place. I mean, I can't imagine my life without sports. I mean, neither can you, I'm sure. But it's an encouragement for folks out there that it's okay to do sports. It's very good to do sports, but make sure it doesn't become your idol. And of course, your identity must not be wrapped around it, because that's not what it is for. I mean, it's all serving a purpose. You know, taking care of yourself mentally, physically, and you know. But so that's wonderful. So how is your back right now?
It's fine. My back's fine. And I couldn't find the x-ray, but I had recently went in for x-ray for something else. They x-rayed my back again. And they're like, where's your injury? It was like perfect.
Wow.
It was all white. It wasn't black and compressed anymore. It was all white. They're like, where's your injury? And they could not find it. And I'm like, God healed it. And they're like, no. I'm like, God healed it. So that's why I try to tell people, it's like, no, God healed it. For me, I walked around the mountain many times in the wilderness because I was a slow learner. But still, I'm not in a wheelchair, and I'm doing amazing things. And for my age and for everything that I am, I'm doing great.
But you're very young. How old are you? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be 52. So hello.
I'm gonna be 50.
So what? God renews our strength daily. So that's what God renews our youth, also our strengths, but he specifically says youth daily. So that's a daily process. So never, but one of my friends said, just jokingly, because obviously I'm not ashamed of any of my years at all. But she said, don't be ashamed of your years. You didn't steal them. And I think it's a nice way to put it, because you have worked through those things, and everything, even the pain and the disappointments and the valleys and all of that, they all contributed to who you are today. I mean, look at the people who never had to go through all that. They are probably the weakest people on the face of the earth. They are not able to help anyone because they don't even comprehend that anybody could be in a, you know, less than best position, because they have never been through that. So I think it's just what you said, that out of the comfort that we have been comforted, we are comforting others. So I think it's very valuable, very valuable. And life experience is nothing. I mean, nothing can teach you. Books, teachings, school education, seminars, whatever, is all good and well, but nothing like life experience, isn't it? When you walk through that, you've been there, and people can tell that you've been there. You're not just speaking because you read it somewhere. You've been there, and they give you credibility. They give you credence immediately, and they look up to you because they know that you can help them, as opposed to those who never went through anything. So I think it's a wonderful thing that all the things that we went through, the thing is that we survived and we are thriving. And I was just thinking about, because you kind of touched on that, although you did not use that word, but I was just thinking about the difference of being healed and being made whole. You know, doctors can heal you at times, you know, praise God for them. We love doctors. We work with doctors, you know, we work with doctors. So we have nothing against them, but they cannot make you whole. What about those, you know, people gone through all these horrible experience of being abused sexually or in any way, you know, physically, the injuries can be healed by doctors, medication, operation, surgery, this, that, but their soul is not being made whole because they can't even touch that. So it's really, Jesus is our healer, not just physically, but even more so in our souls, that no one can do. No one else can do, only the one who made us. So I was just this morning, I was just thinking about it regarding something completely different, but how people don't understand that, physical healing is a beautiful thing, but you cannot replace Jesus, the touch of Jesus, because he's the only one who can make you whole.
Yeah,
and in the Bible, when you think about the 10 lepers, all 10 were healed, but only one was made whole. And the Bible makes the difference, and most people don't catch it. I didn't catch it until Apostle pointed it out, like long time ago. And how leprosy, of course, we know how leprosy progresses. You losing limbs and things like that, bits and pieces. And that stopped because they were all healed. So when Jesus spoke the word, they were all healed, all 10. But when one came back, he was restored. He was made whole, meaning all the missing pieces were restored. The guy was made whole, as opposed to the other 9 who never came back. So that's the difference. It's a very good illustration for people to understand that what the difference is, being made whole as opposed to just being healed. So yeah, we need both.
Yeah, and that's something that I agree with you too. Like, as bad as that injury was, I told you how horrible it was and everything. It was the mental torment that was so much worse. But as you say, I'm so much more grateful for what I learned through that process. Compassion. I used to think that people, when I was on the fire line and somebody be lagging behind, I thought they just weren't trying hard enough. And I get really mad at them because
you sound like me.
No,
I'm kidding myself.
Yeah, why can't you pull your weight? And then after I learned what it was like to have an injury,
yeah,
I'm always helping the guy that's in the back or the gal that's dragging behind. I'm helping them, encouraging them, because I know now you can do this. You can do this. And it also just kind of, I think in life in general, like, helps you to get through the spiritual battles, to not give up. I what is it called? Persistence. You learn persistence.
Yeah, and through it all, what you have to go through, you have learned compassion. So that's a very valuable lesson, and I think we need it. All of us need it, because again, if ourselves have never been through, if we have never walked in the shoes of those people who are perhaps lagging behind or something, even physically, we don't know what they go through. For someone who has never been sick or injured, cannot even comprehend what the pain and mental pain as well they go through. But we all need to exercise more compassion, obviously. So that's a very good point. So are you taking the before and after shots? how your spine was before in terms of X-ray, and then the new one, and then what did the doctors say?
Yeah, I do have one. I couldn't find it. There is a shot of my spine when they were like, how did this happen? This is impossible. They're like, did you get surgery? It's like, no, I didn't go for surgery. They kept saying that you're gonna have to, you're gonna need to do that. And I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah, they're at, what did you do? What did you do? And I'm like, I told you, I asked God.
Yeah.
And he healed it, And I believe now that it could have been healed much, 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 much faster. I just didn't know. I didn't know about healing. I didn't know that we were the ones that were supposed to do it. I didn't know that we had the power within, because of Jesus, what he did and all those things. So I marched around that mountain a lot in the wilderness. And so, I feel like every day I'm physically getting stronger. I'm spiritually getting stronger. I'm still working on wisdom. It'll come though.
But don't we all? Don't we all? I think also maturity, I mean, wisdom comes with maturity, maturity comes with age. So that's the other thing. I would never go back. Apostle, we had this, I don't know if he keeps saying that anymore, but he used to say this, that like he would never want to go back to when he was 20. Number one, he looks exactly the same, so really it doesn't matter. You know him, he never ages. Neither is Pastor Donna. But and he had this like a catchphrase almost, that now that I got smart, I wouldn't go back to when I was young. I was trying to figure things out in any way. I mean, you know, even in life, but let alone in spiritual things, in terms of spiritual. So it's like, you know, that is a thing that comes with age, the maturity and a different perspective. So no, I would never go back to my 20s. I was just talking with a friend of mine. He's, oh, I would like to, about the same age as me, maybe a little older. He said he would love to go back to his 20s. 20, really? Why? Because don't you? I said, no, because you're the only person, in fact, the only woman who doesn't want to go back into her 20s. Like, I never even, my goodness, doesn't even cross my mind ever. My goodness, no, I'm smart now. And we have only good things in store. So, well, that's wonderful. Anything else you wish to share?
I can't think of anything. I wish I had a little more. I know I've been really
Do
excited.
you have, can you talk about your ministry exactly? Because you seem to be doing a ministry also with fighting, and maybe you can just clarify with that so people can understand.
Yeah, so going through the Power School Ministries, working with Pastor David O'Brien, a wonderful man of God, and his wife, Sonia. You know, people were like, you need to understand what your purpose and what your call is. And I definitely am the kind of person that if I wake up and I know what my purpose is, and I believe that it's meaningful and impactful, I'm doing really good. But the minute that I can't remember, or I get fuzzy about it, or I forget, girl, I'm going to find trouble. I will go and find it, because that's part of that immaturity still that I'm getting stronger on. But,
I give you the purpose of life, anyone's life, in 4 words. You ready? Yeah. Love God, love people. That's it. Yeah. That's your mission every day.
You're right.
Everything else is just detail, because you can love people by, you know, providing food for them. You can provide, you know, martial arts for them. You can heal them. There are many, many ways, but this is the basic thing. Love God, love people. That's it.
Yeah. And so, and then the other thing they talked about, like, what's in your hand, what's already in your hand. God already put something there. And so I started thinking about, I was like, I love martial arts, not just the fight, but the art,
yes.
For me, it's my worship, because when I can use my body and express the beauty and the power that God gave to us, it's my form of worship, because I know what it's like to not have it. And so now when I have it, I'm excited to use it. And so what I've done is I travel a lot for my work, and I'll go to different gyms, boxing gyms or martial art gyms, and I'll just see if there's somebody there that will let me interview them. And I try to find out, what's your backstory? Why do you fight? So I'm creating a series called The Fight Within. And they tell me their story. And like the last girl that I interviewed, she was raped. And so she's like, I want to learn how to fight. So then if this ever happens again, it won't be the same. Totally understand it. Really great. So I interview her. She's a really excellent fighter and all these things. And then off the scenes, off the camera, if she'll allow me, I begin to minister to her. It's like, so what happened? You understand that's not your fault, right? And just whatever I can, ask them if they believe in God, try to get them free. And like my last trip in Pennsylvania, I worked with a young man that was dealing with a whole lot of identity crisis, and I just broke so many things off of him in the process and gave him so many seeds. It's up to them to deal with it. And so then what I do is, after the interview, I let them view it before I publish it, so they can, edit whatever they don't want. And if they don't let me minister, sometimes there's places where, like, yeah, no, that's not for me. Okay. So then I try to answer that question in the video. I'll ask the question, and I try to make it in a way, like the first episode, it was, can we train the darkness out of us? Because that's what a lot of fighters do. They're in there like, I'm fighting my demons. So let's answer that question. Can we train the darkness out physically? No, because a spiritual problem needs a spiritual solution, and I try to talk about those things.
That's a very good, very plain answer.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm doing with my ministry. So I'm just going around. You saw like how many places I go to box, and I just meet people, talk to them, and try to minister. It's a way to connect with them. And because I'm a fighter, people are like, you're Christian, you're a fighter? And it's like, well,
I don't think people understand that there could be. I'm so glad that you are making this a point and making it known to the world, because I think people have a very, very different concept on Christianity and Christians in general.
Yeah. So I feel like it's a pretty unique ministry. I'm loving it because I'm doing what I love. I'm worshiping because I'm using my body the way I can, and I'm ministering to people. And I just think it's a great connection, and I want to tell that story for people and help them that God's for everybody. Fighter, hurting, whatever, he's for everybody. So
And it is a form of art. That's the way I took it too, because I did ballet before. And to me, the any kind of step combination and kicking and this and that, to me, I look at it as a choreography. So it was easier for me to learn it, because as opposed to the guys who never did dance before. And I did other kind of dance as well, ballroom dance and things like that. So to me, I looked at it, anything I do, to me, it's like choreography, because that's how I grew up. That's part of me. And I looked at it, I still look at it as an art, like Bruce Lee and things like, I mean, it's not just you going through the motions and the physical things, but really it's art. It's absolutely beautiful. It can be beautiful. I mean, obviously,
yeah, I agree.
but I completely get it. Yeah. That's how I see it too. And it's not about the violence, but it's about the beauty of it, and the precision and the fastness and the technique. So it's all I totally get that. Yeah. But
Yeah.
and I think God is in all of that, He is in all of that. So yeah, we can definitely utilize it. And I think what you're doing is awesome, and everybody needs to. I wish I would be there physically. I could learn from you, because I think it's beautiful. I don't know how good I would be, but
I
I
think you'll
would
be good.
definitely love to. Yeah.
I find that dancers and gymnasts are the best martial artists because they already have certain muscles, some certain twitch reflexes, and the agility, the articulation in their legs and the hips, to move, to do certain kicks and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a dancer, which I've seen a little bit of your stuff, like, oh, she'll be great, she'll be great. I'm always like, let's train. And I even when I went with Apostle Charles to Kenya, there was a few ladies we got to show a little bit of martial arts to, and get to do a little bit of training, and I love also trying to empower women and children to take care of themselves, so they're not a victim.
That's
I'm not.
right.
You don't have to kill somebody. I can put somebody to sleep. I can just
Yeah.
lock them down and put them to sleep. I don't have to kill them,
Yeah.
but I can protect myself and others.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the other thing, protecting others. Yeah. I'm big on protection. I'm big on protecting everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And what about your Native American heritage? Do you minister to that group? Because I think it's awesome.
I'm able to connect with them much easier than most people because I understand what all the feathers and the skins and the colors and the war paint and all that. I understand the culture, and I understand the mind philosophy, how they look at nature. So Native Americans, we believe everything is alive. People are like, oh, the rocks are dead. It's like, no, it takes atoms to keep that together. It's alive.
Yeah.
So I'm able to minister to people that way. It's not something I'm pursuing yet. I think it's in my future. Some people have told me it's going to be in my future.
I imagine.
And I'm fine with that. Totally fine with that. I'm not there yet, maybe, but I also find that with that Native American mindset or ability to understand that, there's a lot of non-Native Americans who are, I would say, like in soul, they're Native, and they look at nature in a different way. And it means, especially here in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, like you hear Apostle Charles always kind of making fun of us with, you can taste the colors of the rainbow, the Skittles and whatever. It's so true.
In Canada, actually, we heard in Canada. That's what they look.
Yeah, it's true. Like there's very, very much a hippie vibe, out here. But I can understand it, and it's easy for me to translate. Okay, you see that beauty in that flower? God created that to display His glory into, and everything He loves. Everything is love and beauty and life, and that's why you like it, because it symbolizes growth and renewal. And so I'm able to minister to people that way quite a bit, just because of where I live.
But God's going to open doors for you there. That white people cannot enter, precisely because they would take you in immediately. But so God is going to use it definitely in every aspect. So that's definitely a story for you. When they look at you, can they recognize that you're Native? Because I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. Oh, well, in the summer I get a lot darker. I get the sunshine, get a nice tan. But yeah, no, I'm just so grateful that I'm learning to love. And I think another thing that was life-changing for me is I've always considered myself a warrior in many different aspects. And when I got injured, it's like, I'm not a warrior anymore. And then in spirit, even, I was asking God, like, what what is my purpose if a warrior can't fight? What am I supposed to do? What am I? And he's been beginning to show me I have a job, I have a role, I have a place even for the warrior, even though that's like an old way of thinking, even though in this current society there's not really a role for warriors. They're frowned upon. You don't speak it out, you don't talk about it, but there is a place in God's kingdom even for the warriors, you know. And like I said, I don't have to kill anybody necessarily, you know, but there's a place.
But yeah, absolutely. I'm totally with you on that. But also it's an attitude of the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that goes for male and female.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just the fact that you are so big on defense, like defending others and protecting others. I'm the same way. I don't look like it, but I am. Just cut me loose, you'll see. I am especially sensitive about kids if they are being hurt in any way, shape, or form, of course, and old people and women, those who cannot defend themselves or think they cannot. So yeah, I spent years being mad at men, so I understand. I completely understand. But now that's gone. So I don't do it out of anger, but I do it out of, you know, understanding whose place is where. And yeah, definitely there is a place for defending those who need defending, and protecting those who need protect. Always. I mean, whether it's male or female or animals even. Absolutely, yeah. So
yeah. That's cool.
Wow, thank you so much for joining me. It has been an absolute honor. Let me know about your links. Write me down the links so I can put it in the description, like your ministry, you said you're doing the interviews. So of course I want to include it as well, so people can come visit your, and maybe they will connect you and connect with you. And if they're in the area, you can train them. You never know, or they need ministry. So yeah.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. God bless you.
It has been an absolute honor. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining all of you guys. This has been the PR show, another edition, and I hope we gave you something to think about, as always. And I hope to see you again soon sometime. God bless you. Love you.